Here, you better watch out. You better watch out. You better watch out. I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. That's right. Conversations with Tony Mobley has Santa Claus on today. So Santa Claus, Kris Kringle, Mr. Greg Swiech is on today with me, and Santa Claus is on Conversations with Tony Mobley. This is episode 31. Why are we here? We are here because life has provided me the opportunity to have real conversations with real people. First, I want to thank Nancy Husledge for our conversation on last Wednesday, Understanding Your Dreams. Wow, what a powerful conversation that was. I want to thank the team behind Conversations with Tony Mobley. Thank you so much for all that you do. So we are here to have a real conversation, and this time it's with Santa Claus. That's right, Santa Claus, Kris Kringle. But I need your help. Register at Conversation with Tony Mobley, and you can participate in the Mukana chat. What is the Mukana chat? Well, it's an opportunity for you to put in your questions and when you put your questions in, you have the opportunity to have those questions voted up or voted down. And if you like this conversation and past conversations, please like and subscribe and set that bell to all notifications. And now, Mr. Greg Swiech, AKA Santa Claus, Kris Kringle, and Mr. Christmas. And who is Greg Swiech? Thank you, Greg, for being here.
Oh, thank you for inviting me, Tony. You know, this is not my busy time anymore, so I have a little bit of time that we can have a great conversation.
Absolutely. So who is Greg Swiech?
Well, who am I? Well, I'm a 66-year-old gentleman that has gone through a lot of different types of jobs through my life, and all those different experiences led me to this one, where I started my little Santa Claus business, and I put it together trying to bring something to the children virtually, mainly because other than the 2 or 3 minutes they spent with me coming up to a traditional Santa visit, I can offer them just a lot more when it comes down to a virtual visit. Storytelling, a little bit of the North Pole, and give them a magical experience. And all the little jobs I worked through my life led me to this, where I'm at now.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Greg, for being here. We are looking forward to continuing this conversation. I think that there's going to be a lot of questions for you on this journey that you're on. So our next question is, what lessons have you learned from your parents that you are using today, besides the role of being Santa?
Oh, wow. Well, my mother had 5 boys. I'm one of 5, so she taught us always to say please and thank you. We get more attracting people with those 2 words and getting people to open up to you. And then also taught us how to clean the house, wash our clothes, and take turns making dinners, because she was a working mother in her when we got into our teenage years. Now my dad, he taught us how to make things, from building us a breadboard and teaching us how to wire different things, and the excitement of pulling a switch and having something operate on our little breadboards, or teaching us how to carve something on a wooden lathe, or make a knife from a file and grind it and design our own knife that we could learn how the techniques to use in a grinder, a buffer, and all the things around that. So he was a hands-on father that always was showing us how to do things, and we helped him around the house with his little projects.
Fantastic. So, our next question is, when did you know this path was for you?
Well, my dad showed it to me when we were young. He played Santa Claus for us when I was growing up. They would tend to put us in bed around 9 o'clock after the house was decorated in that beautiful glow from all the lights. And my mother and my father were both from Polish descent. So my mother used to play kalendes, which is Polish Christmas carols. And to this day, I always like to play them. I have a list on my playlist. But anyway, having that beautiful sound and that smell of fresh baked cookies and the lights glowing. And then when we were put to bed, and around midnight, they woke us up, and Dad would come through the window as Santa Claus. And we would be sitting there with my other brothers, amazed that we're getting to see Santa. We had to stay quiet, and he would proceed through there and do that. I have a little video of that I sent you. I don't know if you want to play that today, but that was how my first introduction to Santa Claus was.
Let's see if we can share that right now. If we can share that. While we're queuing, here we go.
Welcome to a special place where childhood memories are made.
My entrance. Oh, no problem. But anyway, that was my introduction to Santa Claus, and that's how I became what I did today. So that's how I did that. So anyway, it was just a nice, very interesting experience for me. So anyway, but that's my introduction.
All right. So we have a question from Mike Emmett from Melbourne, Australia. And he says, what came first, the calling or the beard?
The calling came first. I was in the jobs that I worked. Obviously, I didn't have a beard for most of those. But probably when I was 21 till my 50th birthday, I did have a beard. It wasn't white. It was black, well trimmed, and it was designed because one of the things I did was I was a photographer, but when I was a photographer and women and young brides and grooms were trusting me with their photographs, I grew that beard to look a little older. I always had somewhat of a baby face, at least that's what people would tell me. So I had that all the way up to my 50th birthday. Then I shaved it off, and the funny thing about that, when my children came down to celebrate my party and give me their couple gifts they got for me, I forgot that they never see me without a beard, because I had the beard when they were born. So they'd never see me without a beard. So as I got older, it got a little more grayer, and then I became a designer beard Santa, which is a beard that is made from a couple hairs at a time. And you send them an impression of your face, and they mold it to your face to look very realistic. Very costly beards, and Heather took care of that. She was from Florence, Kentucky. And then I grew the beard only 2 years ago to be a real bearded Santa, only because it came in all white, and that was perfect.
Fantastic. Thank you. The next question is, how did you get started on this journey of helping children and realizing the magic of Christmas?
Oh, boy. I took my dad coming and being Santa for my children. I watched them in action. I looked at their faces. We got a lot of home videos of that. And then I asked my dad to, with the place that I work, I was a general manager at a dealership, and I had him come and portray Santa at that dealership. And I couldn't believe how much joy he put on those children's faces. And the owner really thanked me for, thought he was one of the better Santa Clauses they had. And so from that time on, I tried to talk my dad into, let's keep adding to the Santa outfit and expand upon it. He made my first Santa buckle for my belt, and then he also made, and my sister-in-law made my Santa bag that I always carried around. And then I started bringing those joys to children's faces. But about 2 years ago, in 2019, I thought that this should move to a more online experience so I can just spend a little more time with the children and try to make it a little more magical.
Thank you, Greg, for doing this. We have another question from Mike Emmett from Melbourne, Australia. What is the most touching thing a child has asked for from you, from Santa? Well, it's from you.
Yeah, absolutely. They sometimes, a very common thing is not touching, but they certainly want their own personal iPhones, which a lot of times the parents are in the background saying, no. So Santa has to answer those and say, oh boy, it's just not the cost and making that iPhone for you. It's a monthly cost associated with that. And I don't want you always have to worried about how you're going to pay for the service for that iPhone. So, that's one thing that Santa doesn't like to give somebody for that reason. So that's one of the questions I get. Sometimes they ask me for a pet, and I tell them, that's a family decision. Why don't you talk with your family and decide on that pet, that if you're ready for a pet. I want you to work that out with your parents.
Very cool. When did you first appear as Santa?
Oh boy, I would bet it's been about, I guess it was about 1985, somewhere in that time. I took over for my dad. He started getting a little wobbly on his feet, and I took over and I started portraying it for my children for a while. And then they were catching on to me. So I threw in my brother-in-law one year just to throw them off a little bit. And then I decided to do some preschools and do some children's hospital. I really enjoyed working with them and doing where my dad was elderly and had really bad dementia. We had him in a home. And so I would visit him as Santa at Christmas time, and I would also bake some cakes because the ratio at that home was 38 women to 2 gentlemen, and my dad was one of those 2. And they always talked about all the things they used to do in the kitchen in the form of baking or cooking for their family. So I decided I'll bake cakes and bring them down to the home, and they can all have a little slice of cake and spend some time with them. And so I did that all the way up to my dad's even 2 years or 3 years after my dad's passing, and I just stopped that when the pandemic hit. I didn't want to bring anything, and plus they really tightened up that the needs of having other people come into the home in an unsecured environment for them. But that's what really got me doing it. I did some toys for tots and different things like that. And I just really enjoyed it. And I figured, boy, I want to keep on doing this for a long time. And I figured I'm going to move this into a virtual environment.
Fantastic. All right, our next question is from Mike Emmett again. Were you doing digital experiences, Santa, prior to the pandemic? And you just answered that.
Yeah, about a year before, I tried it with projectors, rear screen projectors. It wasn't the best work. I did it for a family member, and it was all right. They enjoyed it, but I realized not until I learned about a tool called Online Broadcast Software, which is short name for that is OBS. And one of the Santas on our Santa group showed us a cabin look with some snow falling down outside the windows, and we were fascinated about that experience. And we said, how did you do that? And he says it's a chroma key background using OBS, and that was all I needed. So I went and downloaded OBS. Oh, it didn't download. My Mac computer was too old to handle it. So I had to invest in another Mac computer, and then I got it off and running, and then I started building my scenes, my Santa village or my Santa cabin, and getting it ready for the children.
Can you show us a demo?
Sure, absolutely. So
Fantastic.
right here is where I go over a lot of the children want to know if they're naughty or nice, and they're always on the nice list. So I go through the nice list here, and I look for their names in here and pull them up. And then I also maybe tell them stories, and sometimes I even present them with a nice certificate. Here, I hold that up for them, and then I even put it in an envelope, and I seal it with my seal, put it in an envelope for them, and then I put it through a magical wormhole to go and drop it right into their house. So that's
wow.
one of the things I do in this area, and then I also tell a little bit of stories. But in my other scene, and I'll switch over to that now, this is where I work with the children here, and this is where I get a little pinch of pixie dust, and I reach back here and I wave that pixie dust and pinch that pixie dust, and that's the beginning of the wormhole. Yeah, right there. So I get that. Now, a wormhole is funny. It only appears for a little bit, so you have to get it just right. And when it comes up, then you can send it off directly over to your, right to you. So that's how I send them their certificate. And so that is a little magical experience for them. And then sometimes they ask me about, I'd say it's a little chilly in here, so I get the elves to come down here and light up my fireplace, and different things like that I can do here. And just a couple little things here, and get it nice and warm for me in my cabin. And then sometimes I even ask them if they want to go on a little tour of the North Pole. And if they do, I can take them on a tour. Tony, do you want to go on a little tour?
Sure.
All right, let me get my coat. So it's cold outside up here at the North Pole, so I'm gonna put this on, and Mrs. Claus made this, by the way, for me, and it's just right. Oh, it keeps me warm, and we're gonna go on a tour of the North Pole. We're gonna start off at the halls of letters, where all the letters come. Let me go. Hold on. I'll see you over there.
All right.
Oh, here we are at the Hall of Letters, where all your letters go. This place is huge. So this is where we take you first, because I want to show you, not only do I get, yeah, oh, Santa's up on technology. It's not just letters. Children send me videos. Oh, it's also a little chilly in here. We want to get the elves to light this up too. So we're going to get Elmo to come down here and light up that fireplace for us. Oh, he's a good guy, but when you're working with matches, you always got to be super careful with matches. So there you go. Good job, Elmo. Oh, boy, this is fantastic. Oh, so let me just, I'm getting some messages now. Oh, my goodness. Oh, boy. Oh, and there's some video clips coming in. Fantastic. Oh, look here, right here I got some clips, and I'm gonna get some more. Oh, Bobby hurt his head. He got a bandage. I hope he's all right. So this is the halls of letters. So it's huge. I'm going to show you how big it is. Let me just step over here out of the way here and give you an idea of the size of this place. Like I said, it's super big. Wow, I told you it's big. Look at the size of this place. Oh, and yep, let me come in the side door here, and then look at all these drawers where all the letters go. You want to see the reindeer? Let's go see the reindeer. Oh, hold on. Let's go. Oh, these are my guys. Oh, thank you for getting up there, buddy. Yeah, we got company. Tony and all his YouTube friends are here to see you. This is the reindeer. Well, this is 4 of them. There's 4 more on the other side. Oh, let me go and squeeze over to there. Oh, Comet. Oh, what are you doing sleeping? We got company. Oh, my goodness. Oh, Comet, I can't believe that. Oh, you want to see that special reindeer? Huh, the one with the, oh, let's go check him out. Come on. Hey, how you doing? You know, what makes him so special is because he's gray? Is that what makes him so special? No, it's because of what? Oh, come on, turn around. Sometimes he's pretty shy. Come on, they want to see. It's his nose. Oh, and he loves when I rub his belly, right? Oh, he sometimes gets a little ticklish. Yep, that's Rudy. So now we're going to show you all the reindeers and get them up here together. Come on, Rudy. Oh, there they are. Here's my boys. Yep, they're all here, and I'm happy to see you guys. They're getting ready. They're having a dinner. Dasher, what's the problem? We got company. Anyway, they just love to spend some time with you, Tony. So sometimes Dasher's looking for attention. Dasher! Oh, my, say hello in reindeer language. Why don't you go and say hello? I taught you that. Go ahead. Good job. All right. So now, oh, you want to go to the workshops. Let's go over to the workshop. Oh, here we are at the workshop. Oh, and there's my buddies working. Hey, guys. Hi. Oh, welcome. We got guests. Tony came to see you. Yeah, what are you working on that? They're working on a special toy. They're trying to get their toy skills down. It's a Ferris wheel. Hey, I brought you that bottle of paint. I'll put it right here. Yeah, I'll put it right there for you. All right, so yeah, good job. Keep up the good work. Yeah, that's for you.
Well, thank you, Santa.
You're welcome. Yeah. Give yourself a bit. All right, we're going to head back over to the office and continue talking with Tony. But thank you guys for working on that. Send me a picture of it later on. I greatly appreciate that. Oh, let's go back to the office.
Wow, Santa, thank you so much for showing us all of that.
Oh, it's a little tour.
That experience in the North Pole, wow.
Take off the coat, it's a little warm in here, but I'm happy you enjoyed that. And let me just hang that back up over here. And let me sit back down with you here. Get my chair, slide back over here. All righty. Well, I'm happy you enjoyed that little tour.
Thank you so much for sharing with us.
So that's what we try to do here for the children, is make it a little bit more magical and not only go over some storytelling, but also the certificate and sending it off through the wormhole. Give them a little tour because they want to see what the North Pole is all about.
Fantastic. And so We have another question from Mike Emmett, and the question is, in the day-to-day life, how much of Santa do you carry with you?
Oh, well, that's one thing. When you grow one of these, you got to remember, you got to be extra kind and extra nice, and just realize you're representing a lot more. And actually, to be honest with you, it's made me a better person, because all the Santas I know, it starts from the heart, and they want to do a good job. But when you have a beard and you wear it all year round, people look at you, and you might be in a Home Depot talking to your wife about a new vanity that we're looking to put in the bathroom, and maybe my voice goes up a little high by saying, well, Deb, that won't work for that. And somebody walks by, a little child, and says, Santa's yelling at that lady. And you got to remember, you are representing, you can talk, and plus, wouldn't it be nice if you would talk nice tone to your voice, to your wife anyway? So it makes me a better person. And I'm still on that path to keep improving myself. I'm a work in process.
Fantastic. And so Mike is back with another question. How much of playing Santa is psychology?
Oh, well, you got to remember, especially if you do the hospitals, they're going to ask you for things that you can't possibly deliver. Santa, I want to be healthy, or I want to be out of the hospital. And you have to look at them and look right into their eyes and says, you have great doctors here and nurses that want you to get better, and just keep believing and trying your best, and they're on your side to help you out, and they're all there for you. And I just know that you're going to be taken care of, and that makes me feel extremely good. So you have to be able to say that to the child and realize that you can't promise them something, or they might even ask you in situations, it never happened to me, but they might say, my dad's no longer with us. My mom says he died. Can you bring him back? And you got to be able to answer that. Oh, that's one thing Santa can't do. And Hollywood helps us out a little bit with that. The Christmas Chronicles, where Kurt Russell played Santa, and the gift of that child who was struggling with his dad passing away as a fireman. He just wanted to be able to make sure his dad, and said goodbye to him, and felt that his dad was proud of him. And in that scene where the reflection of his dad through the ornament on the Christmas tree was very important part of that movie. So it's something that you can't be an island. You got to be able to draw upon other people that have run into those situations. I belong to a lot of Santa groups. All year round, we are trained, learning different things, and that's just what we do. So you got to be prepared for that. And the other thing, a guy named Jonathan Winters taught me improv. So when they ask you, Santa, what's my elf on the shelf's name? Now, that doesn't affect me too much as a virtual Santa because the parents send me that information. But when I was one-on-one with the child, I would say, oh, you mean Offendorfer? Offendorfer? And I said, oh, it's not easy to pronounce. You did a pretty good job on that. But that was his elfish name when he was up here at the North Pole. What did you name him? And that's the little improv that we learned from people like Robin Williams, Jonathan Winters, and you can have the child say, no, his name is Stardust, or his name is Pitzel, or Tinsel, and there you go. So little things like that are just things that we try our best to make it as magical. But by being a virtual Santa, I get a form filled out by the parents, and I know what they want for Christmas. I know their pets' names, if there's pets involved, all their names, and it really makes for a personal experience.
Fantastic. And Dan Huber is here with, were you always into technology? What did you discover first to add to your experience?
Well, first, I'll take a little path in the beginning. I was one of the first, taught my wife, and we need to get the children an Apple computer. And it was an Apple II GS, way back in the 80s. And my son had a really following of Mr. Steve Jobs. When we went on a trip to LA, he made sure that we went down to the campus. And I'm talking about the old campus. And we stood out in front and looked at the building. And when Steve got involved with Pixar, he took us to all those movies. And he was in college and he took all his friends. So, and my daughter was always understanding technology. They actually helped me wire the house. And in reward for that, I let them have the internet. And we were all wired instead of, this was before Wi-Fi even came out. And so with all that, I was always curious with technology. And then with the help of just YouTube, watching different shows. And then I experienced Mac Weekly. Then I met virtually Alex Lindsay. He introduced me to the Office global community. And now that's my go-to, and that has taken it to a whole nother level. And that I now added a teleprompter, I added a wireless mic, so I won't be sounding like I'm drifting away when I take them on a tour. And I'm constantly improving what I can do to make the best possible visit for the children.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that with us, Greg. Oh, I mean, Santa.
You can call me Greg.
And Mike Emmett is back from Melbourne, Australia. What was the learning curve like for learning all of these tools to craft a detailed experience?
Well, it's constantly putting yourself into training. Last year, I took a course from a gentleman named Stephen Gillum. Stephen is known as one of the best storytelling Santas. And prior to that, I didn't have much storytelling in my visits. And so with Steve explaining why a story is so important, and other people on the different communities I belong to explained to me, think about it. How many times have we heard this opening? Once upon a time. You know, we can probably tell us what's your favorite movie and why is it? And it probably was a great story behind it. And the same thing with stories for children. So I had to learn that. I'm trying to learn a little sign language. I'm working with my cousin who is, she and her husband, my cousin is her husband, Marianne is his wife, and he and her are both blind. And they hosted our family reunion a couple years back. And they took us to a play on the day after the reunion. And I sat there with these 6 other fellow friends of theirs, and their seeing eye dog by my feet, and they're listening to a play and visualizing it and hearing everything. And so she reached out to me and asked me if I could do a Santa visit for one of her friend's children. Now, he can see, but the parents can't. And I realized she's told me that, Greg, you always explain the reindeer, the elves, the things that you are doing, so the parents can enjoy this as much as the child. So I want to expand upon that. I reached out to Marianne. I says, would you come to one of our Santa groups and expose us to how we can take care of people with that condition? They can't see it, but they can certainly hear it and they can imagine it. And that's all we need. So I like to explore that. So it's a constant, I always says, it's like a race. And there's a finish line that you might think is out there, but my finish line keeps getting moved based on what's new and what you can see around you that you can explore. And I just want to make sure I run a decent race every day. And that's how I look at it. It's probably my simplistic way of doing that.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that, Greg. Are you looking to move from OBS to Unreal Engine, or are you looking at maybe Unity?
Yes, definitely looking at Unreal Engine. I built a lot of these scenes and background with the help of an artist and myself working on a design, and they were put into a Blender, using Blender, and he gave me my first introduction to Unreal Engine, and I got all my scenes migrated over to Unreal Engine, and that's what I do from January, or actually from the 27th of December till November. I work on different other ideas of scenes, and I want to make sure we introduce those, because when the children a year ago, they asked me, "Where's your reindeer?" Well, now I got reindeer. Before that, they asked, "Where's your elves?" And I have elves. And I worked with a company called Atmos FX, and they provided me my first example of elves. So now they're asking, "Where is Mrs. Claus?" So I'm working with another young lady. She's an actress, and I'm trying to work with her so we can get some video clips made, and I can insert her into my tour of the North Pole, and they can have a little quick conversation with Mrs. Claus. So I'm constantly trying to improve it. I'm looking at ATEM and see what they can do, but mainly I'm used to OBS. It does a good job for me, but I definitely want to elevate my game with maybe with Unreal Engine. So I'm working on that.
Fantastic. Thank you, Greg. The next question is, when did you first set up virtual workshop, the elves and the reindeer? When was the first time? You just talked about it, but when was the first time?
Oh boy, again, I just finished 2020 and season, and then by February I had my ideas for the reindeer, and then I started working on that, and then and that was in February, March, April, I started working on the Halls of Letters. I got the idea from the Christmas Chronicle. The first one, Katie comes through the magic Santa Claus bag and arrives at the Halls of Letters. So I wanted to design my own Hall of Letters. And then I started building the workshop with the 4 elves and them working on some toys. So it was a whole year time spent on it, and I kept showing it to some of my Santa groups. And then this year, I wanted to really get it practicing. I've been practicing all by myself, like you just seen me do, using Tony as a visitor. But I wanted to practice with children, and I knew that it was early in the season, so I reached out to Make-A-Wish and asked them if they would allow me to try to help and bring a little joy to the children in need for Make-A-Wish while they're waiting for their wishes. And it took a while, but they got back to me, and I did visits with Make-A-Wish this year. And that
Fantastic.
let me experience the children's reaction to these things that I built all year long.
That's really fantastic, Greg. So what's next for you and the magic of Santa?
Well, like I said, like I mentioned, Make-A-Wish, and it wasn't just me using them or showing a visit and maybe try to bring a little joy to them. The strength that those children and what they have to go through brings a lot of joy to me to see how they're dealing with that. And the little aches and pains that I get in my older age, it's nothing compared to what they go through. So it's a give and take. And when I do other families and a little child with wandering eyes open up and asks a question, or they go, and that look on their face. So I'm always trying to make sure I'm always treating that visit with the utmost respect. Fred Rogers has been a person that lived in Pittsburgh as I live in Pittsburgh, and he was a good role model. Mainly when I was older, I really got to understand that gentleman and the way he really had a personal conversation with that camera. And on the other side of that camera was those children. So I'm always trying to make it a little bit better, and I'm always on that journey to keep trying to make a better experience for the children.
Fantastic. Thank you, Greg, for sharing that.
Oh, no problem.
And Mike Emmett is back again. He said there are so many other traditions celebrated at this time of year. How does the influence of other cultures' practices change what you do as Santa?
Yes, I really haven't explored many of those since I end my last show on the 24th of December. So the 25th, I have some time with my family, and that's important to me. My brother, he married a Russian Orthodox young lady. She has passed. She actually made my Santa bag for me with her and my dad, and she put the letters SC embroidered on there for me. And I was doing a little bit of ceramic classes, and I made her a baby Jesus for her table. So it was a give and take thing. But they celebrate on the January 6th, I think it is, or 7th, and he makes Polish bread, Pascha is called, and he still makes sure I get delivered that. And so that's a tradition. I might extend my season a little bit. Now that I'm into this new community that is global, the Office Hours Global Group, I see people all around the world. So I'm very interested in some of them. They see Santa through the eyes of a storytelling lady, or they see that the three kings are the ones that bring gifts to the children. So there's all types of traditions that I would have to become very familiar with if I want to understand them and be able to put on a good visit for them and make it personal for them. So that journey is I haven't started there, but I know there's a need out there. Maybe I can help.
Fantastic. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Mike, for that great question. Douglas Carmichael asks, have you customized the experience for children with sensory sensitivities or special needs?
Yeah, I've taken autism classes and the person that has helped us, one of our Santas, he's an adult with autism. And boy, does he keep reminding us about maybe loud noises you want to maybe stay away from, maybe certain color lights. And in a virtual environment, I can adjust those if I know that's ahead of time. So all those kind of things you got to be aware with. Maybe they're looking to kind of take the attention away from maybe their other siblings based on if there's more than one. So maybe you might say, okay, and I might put a countdown or something that will count down for them so they have all that time to themselves, and then they can then pass it on to, when that timer ends, to their other siblings so they can ask their questions. So being aware of that, and again, things like sign language, working on simple signs is something that we take courses to try to learn that. Some of them are scheduled this year. And like I said, working with my cousin who has a problem with sight, obviously, and like I told you, and she could help me not only work on my delivery of my visits, but my website. Is it set up that somebody can go on there and book my services? And I felt really proud that it was when her friend went there and scheduled her service for me. That made me feel good and I think it's even the law, you're supposed to do that. But sometimes we forget about that when we're trying to do other things. So you got to keep being aware of that. You want to make it for everybody and every religion too. All that. Fred Rogers obviously was a man of faith, but he never preached that in his shows. And I thought that is something where I like to take it down that same path, just to make sure that every child, no matter what their beliefs are, is welcome to the North Pole.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And Douglas, thank you so much for that question. It was a very important question. Thank you, Douglas. Mike Emmett is back again, and he says, when you are working as Santa with children and families, how important is it for you to be able to see them and the way they react?
Oh, it's night and day. Once in a while, I've been trying to do some pre-recorded work. I only did one or two for families that wanted it that way. And when you do pre-recorded work, there's no children involved. But without the children and them being in my gallery view, and I use Zoom as my tool to deliver and communicate with the children, and they're on the left of the screen just like you are, and I'm on the right, just like we're set up here. And that is extremely important for me to be able to see that and visit with them. When I first, let me kind of give you a snapshot of that. When I first came up with this tour of the North Pole, I'm gonna remove my logo there. I didn't know if they would say yes or no to when I said, do you wanna go on a tour? I didn't know what they would say. So what I did was I came up with closed circuit TV if they wanted to see my reindeer. So we didn't have to leave at all if they wanted to spend most of the time with me. It's like being a good Boy Scout. I was a Boy Scout. Be prepared. And so I can move the reindeer, and I can even bring up the toy shops and different things here and just move around and be able to bring that up, and they can see that. And little things like that. So this became an important tool to have here. And if I'm doing a small little company, and I've done some company parties, I can bring up their logos and things like that, and little things that you can make it special for them, and they can see closed circuit TV or a logo of their business. So it makes it very personal for them. So that's one thing I figured it was important for me to build that for them and be able to have that ready to go.
Fantastic. Thank you, Greg. Tlaluk Lopez Waterman asks, do you see children of many faiths and backgrounds?
Since I don't ask at all on my form, they could be. I just look at them as children. I haven't run into anything special that I could point out and told you, oh yes, I remember this one. I would say, I guess I look at them with a blind eye in a sense. So I haven't run into anything. If I start extending my season or taking some work from outside of the United States, I'll probably run into that, but we'll see. But so far, not yet. That I can tell you that I've done something like that.
Okay, and so Mike Emmett is back again. He says, can I have a MacBook Pro M1 Max for Christmas?
Well, Mike, I'm telling you, that's a big gift. And, that's a nice computer, too. Let me tell you, I'm a big fan of the M1 chip. So I can understand why you would want such a computer like that. But, have you been a good boy? I'm going to have to check the list, and I'm going to have to see. But, it's just sometimes Santa just likes to surprise you. And I'll surprise you with something special for you.
All right, Mike.
I got to check my list, too.
You're speaking to others interested in doing this type of interaction, possibly educators. What do you want them to know?
Well, the first thing I would say, am married to an educator for 40 years. She teaches me, and I don't know half of what she knows. And I don't know if I can speak intelligently about that field, but I'll tell you from my perspective. I did not, in my mind, enjoy a lot of my school time spent in school. I seem to be always a little bit behind all the other children. Most of my interactions was with my dad using our hands and building something. Or if we asked a story about what's lightning, the next lightning storm, he had us outside looking at it and explaining it to us. So I learned that way. And to this day, when I get something and there's an instruction sheet, I put it down and I go on YouTube and watch if I can find a YouTube video to show me how to put it together. I'm a visual learner, I guess. Now, my son has taught me to, when I ask his help, the first thing he does is pick up the instruction sheet. And he starts reading it. And he starts putting it together. And I learned that, yes, I can learn that way. But to me, to try to help educators, I would say, you gotta think a little bit different. We gotta be able to reach all those children. And I think technology is the tool to help us get there. Now, sometimes you have no control of that because you are delivered courses and different criteria, and then at the certain times a year they get tested on that. So you gotta stay within those boundaries. But some of our best Santas that I've met are retired teachers. And it seems like the gloves are off. And they have really taken it to other levels because of having their background. Now they can explore with all these children of all different ages. And I think that's a great example watching teachers, ex-teachers that are Santas. There's a lot of them in our group, and I'm always learning from them.
I just want to add, Greg, I think that what you're doing is fantastic, not just from the standpoint of you're doing these magical things for children and Make-A-Wish, and I think that educators can glean from what you're doing and implement some of this in their lessons, and it will make a tremendous amount of difference, particularly for those who are, as you say, visual learners. So I want to say thank you so much for sharing this, because I think it will be more impactful than you even realized at this moment. So thank you.
Oh, not a problem. I like to see my wife when she's probably a couple years out for being retired, and I don't know where she'll take all these skills she learned over the 40-some years. But I watch her with my children who are adults, and the relationship we have, other people, animals. It's amazing. It seems like all the animals go to my wife before they even come to me. So I believe she lives off this glow that these animals feel extremely comfortable with her, or babies. So she is constantly teaching me just by being herself, and I'm always learning from her. So it's really interesting, and you know, I'll give you one little story. She got to give out her diploma to one of my nieces, and because she taught them, she was handing it out to them. And I was sitting in the auditorium, and there was a couple people in front of me, and we're sitting there waiting for the niece to come up, and here he comes, nephew come up, and she also gave it to her niece. But the nephew, when he came up, these couple people in front of me said, "Oh, that's Mrs. Swiech. She was my teacher. She was one of my best teachers." And I'm thinking, I've done a lot of jobs, and I've sold suits. I've done demos of software, and nobody, I don't think anywhere, was saying, "Oh, that was our demo guy. He does a good demo." So she leaves a lasting impression, teachers. And I'm telling you, they're going through a tough time right now trying to navigate everything. And it's just really challenging for them and people in the medical field. My daughter is a nurse practitioner. So it's you just got to keep everybody, just understand that I call it the bubble on their head. When you look at somebody and they have this face, maybe the dog passed away. Maybe they have a family member that is sick. There's something that you can, maybe by your smile or, in a line buying your coffee, pay for the person behind you, something just to maybe put a little smile on their face. So teachers are extraordinary people, and so is nurses.
Thank you, Greg, for that. What are you most concerned about for the future?
Well, I don't like the way we are so divided in our what we feel we are, things that we just don't agree upon. But one thing we can all agree upon, we will all have parents, we all have struggles, we maybe raised our children, we get up every day maybe to go to work, or we deal with some aches and pains. And all that, we can come to one common goal, that we are humans and we all share this planet. And man, just try to respect each other. And even if you might not agree with them, again, my mom taught me please and thank you. And there's nothing wrong with that to open doors.
Thank you, Greg. The next question is, what have your children have to say about what you're doing?
I think they're just happy that Dad keeps busy. And they watched a lot of my shows, and I kind of send them the video for them to give me some feedback. But I think they're happy and that I am keeping busy. We go through a whole career of working, and we do pull apart from even your spouse. You join back together at dinner time or bedtime, but most times you are doing two different worlds of a life that you're living, of whatever your work is. So when you retire, you got to remember that now you're going to be back together 24/7. And she is not retired yet, but she knows when she does retire, she has a life of her own, and I have a life of my own. And we can come together and talk about it and join with a nice conversation at dinner time. But we are, they look at it, my children and my wife, is just something to keep Dad busy. And they enjoy that. So I'm happy that and one thing I tell other Santas, when they see technology, they go, oh, I gotta wait for my son to come home. He's gonna come over and he's working, but he'll be over and he's gonna help me with this. And I try to tell him as nice as possible that let me help you, or let somebody else try to help you. Let them not feel like they have to come over and help Dad out with his hobby, because it's your hobby. And remember when you were that age and how busy you were, just making everything work day by day. So I just try to help them as much as I can, so they realize that they can do this. They really can. So I try to inspire them a little bit or help them.
Thank you for sharing that, Greg. And we have another question, and I can't quite tell who it's from. Let's see. From Mike Emmett, do you see digital experiences like yours becoming more common in the future, or has the demand for them been mostly about a response to the pandemic?
Well, I think last year it definitely was a response to the pandemic. A lot of people got into this business of virtual, a lot of big groups, a lot of big investors. Some of them had challenges last year coming up. Again, I worked all year at it. They might have came into this idea 5 months before the season. And maybe they weren't prepared, and then trying to bring a lot of Santas on board and thinking they're familiar with technology. And they have a simple ring light or a simple mic or a webcam, and the webcams were hard to come by. So all that was a challenge. And then this year, people were thirsting to see Santa in person. So I am strictly 100% virtual, and I truly believe it's the future in my thoughts, because I can give them not only a lot more of a personal experience, but also a longer experience than 2 or 3 minutes in a line waiting to see Santa. I'm doing it if they're in their comfort of their own home. So they're not coming up to a stranger with a big white beard and reaching out to them, and that might scare them, where they can be comfortable at their own home. And this is all recorded. I deliver a video to them. 20 years from now, they might not be watching the parents might not be watching my reindeer or my elves or even me. But boy, will they be watching every little sound and words coming from that child that was enjoying this. And that will bring a smile on their face in many years to come. And I don't think you can get that from a on-site experience. A lot of them are partnering up with photographers and doing a half-hour photography event to get magical pictures, and especially after some post-production work. And that's also very popular. But I just feel, as long as this situation that we're up against, I want to make sure that I don't pass anything on to a child. And I think this is where I see my future. And plus, I can see this 10 years down the road as I get a little bit older. Maybe it's harder to get up and down or get in a car and drive. And I don't want to drag my children or my wife into being my chauffeur to get me around town. So, and there's so much more dead time in driving in that car that I can go from one visit to another and give a lot more of myself to the children.
Wow. Thank you, Greg, for that. Mike Emmett is back again. He says, has what you've learned about digital production as Santa made you think of other opportunities in the off season, or is your commitment to the role all year round?
I'm somewhat committed to the role all year round. But mainly I start my season on November 20th to December 24th. I'm thinking about maybe I could make myself available for children's birthdays or a special event and offer something. I'm redesigning my website, and that might be something I might put out there so I can do it in July or in different times of the year and spend that time with the children. The studio is set up 24/7, and it's always ready to go. I might have to change some of my scenes around, maybe bring something with a little different atmosphere or something on that TV like I showed you, maybe bring up a birthday greeting or something. So I want to make sure I always work from one simple role, from the customer backwards. So I got to see what the customer's looking for, and then I can see if I can provide it.
And Greg, can you share that website one more time, please?
Yeah, my current website is santakringlellc.com. Santa Kringle with a K, LLC.com. And currently, if you just type in Santa Kringle, I usually pop up #1 on Google. So for now, but we'll see how long that lasts.
Thank you, Greg. Mike Emmett is back again. If you could make a wish to Santa at OBS, what would you ask for that would make OBS better for you?
Well, it's like I don't know what I don't know. So far, OBS has been giving me everything I need. But what I don't want is OBS to ever fail me. that's something I don't want to ever experience. About 2 years ago in the Mac world, I used to bring up on that TV, I made a partnership with a company that they go by North Pole Times. And I thought bringing up their website, not only does it have an interactive nice list, it has cookies, recipes, and other sweets, other meals during the holiday season, crafts with children. And I thought, why not bring that up to almost do a warm handoff to them so the children can experience that all year round. Well, they made a change in the operating system, Apple did. When I loaded that, it broke that link. It made me delete OBS completely. I lost all my scenes. It wouldn't take the backup because it was damaged because of the link to the web was attached to it. I had to start from scratch. So that I don't want to ever see again. Now, I solved that by taking away that website, but that kind of stuff, nobody likes surprises, especially at game time.
Absolutely. And Douglas Carmichael is back, and he says, have you thought about adding captions/language translations?
Well, I think when I post them on Facebook, the translations, it can bring up everything I'm saying, and that also pointed out that I need to pronunciate better. So that pointed that out. I did a lower third in post-production last year, and I didn't do it this year. Nobody seemed to really care about that. I do when I send it to them, and I use Frame.io, and in Frame.io, I put the date and the time and the children's names, and they're just their first names, and I put that on it so the parents see that in the video file. But I'm always looking for making anything better. I think adding lower thirds, if I can do it in OBS very simply, I will do that. Keep in mind, you gotta make sure you add those, especially if you have back-to-back shows. I'm my producer. I'm the, for the sake of the better word, the talent. I'm everything. I'm the technical advisor. I'm everybody. So the Elgato Stream Decks that I use all the time, I got 2 of them, is a big part of my business and of my visits. And so far, everything's been working out extremely well. I use 2 Elgato Stream Decks tied to the OBS to move my scenes around.
Okay. Do you want to share some more video with us?
Yeah, I think, let me try something right here and see if this works out for you. Hold on, let me see here. I just looking right now, I didn't have this set up, but this might work for you. This is that first time with Santa. This is my dad coming through the window. It's year 1958. I'm the little one with the hat. And my dad, I can't believe he climbed 6 or 8 feet up to go through that window. You can recognize a tree with all the tinsel on it. My other 2 brothers are there. My mother is there, and my uncle is standing, kneeling next to her. And my mother's talking to one of my brothers right there. Santa is delivering the gifts. And then he went out the window saying goodbye. And then we got time to open some of the gifts he left us. We didn't get a lot of gifts. We didn't know we didn't need a lot of gifts until we started going to school, talking to other children. We were happy what we did get. And we all got to play with them a little bit. Then they put us to bed and woke us up in the morning for church. So it was hard getting back to bed, but we always was awoke at midnight, and that's when Santa came. And so that was my first experience with Santa, and it was very special to me. And so that's one of my first experiences with Santa. So that's one of the things that I still got my dad's original outfit 5 feet from me in my cupboard. I will never get rid of that. His sister put that together for us.
Fantastic. So we have a question from Dan Huber. He says, what is your favorite cookie?
Oh, my favorite cookie. Well, my favorite cookie is a round cookie. That's my favorite cookie.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Dan, for that question about cookies. All right. Mike Emmett is back, and he says, can you answer the age-old question, do I leave beer or milk with the cookie?
Oh, yeah. It's very important to leave Santa not only some milk and cookie, but also make sure you leave me some carrots, and not real big ones, if you don't mind breaking them up a little bit or cutting them up for the reindeer, because they tend to eat them too fast and they could choke on them. But yes, Santa loves a good cup of hot chocolate, and obviously he likes a cookie to go along with that. So it's very important that you do that. And for you parents, make sure Santa looks like he ate that cookie and on the 25th when they come up to see that. So that's very important. And I also do a little story that talks about this magical white feather. And that's another little leave behind that I add to my visits.
So you're saying that the feather is at the home of the children when...
Yes, I end my visits with that story of what is the most asked question that I get from children for Santa. And that's where I add that into that. I can tell you the story if you want to hear it.
Sure.
But, all right. So I always ask the children as we're winding up, what do you think's the most asked question that I get? Some people answer me, Santa, we don't have a chimney. How do you get in our house? And I explained about a magical key that we carry. Somebody might ask, how does the reindeer fly? And I taught them about the pixie dust I carry with me. I have in the back here. But the most asked question is, what happens if we catch you on Christmas Eve putting out the gifts? And I asked the children, what do you think happens? And some children says, I don't know. Some says, you take all the toys and you leave. Oh, that would be rude. Well, oh, I see you left me some cookies and milk. Do you know where Dad keeps those cookies and milk? Kitchen? Let's go get some. So we go into the kitchen, we find the cookies, and I get their plates out, and based on how many children I'm talking to, we make them a plate full of cookies. And I says, let's go get the milk. Now I'll pour it for you guys, and I'll carry it, and then we'll go into by the Christmas tree, and we'll have a cookies and milk party. Oh, it will be grand. It will be fantastic. And I'll be putting the gifts underneath the tree, and we'll be enjoying the time, having some cookies and milk. And then I'll reach into my pocket and pull out this special little feather out of my pocket. And I'll explain about this special little bird that we have up at the North Pole. Now, this special little bird is at the North Pole, and it lives up there at the North Pole. So I'll bring up a picture of that bird, and I'll put it up on the screen, and I'll explain his feathers, we find out through the years, are very magical. So this special bird, we found out about these feathers, and when I take it out of my pocket and I let it fall through the air, and as it goes, and when it lands on the floor and it hits the floor. You're back in bed, and you guys don't remember a thing. And that's how Santa keeps his secret. So when they wake up in the morning and they see that feather by the Christmas tree laying there, they start thinking about the story I told them. And then I tell them a little bit more on that story. Before I finish up that story, I say, this little boy from Virginia sent me a letter. This was a long time ago. They didn't have email back then. He sent me a letter. And in his letter, he said, Santa, come down to see me. I really need to see you. Well, it was in July, and I had time on my hand, so I went down to see him. And then I knocked on the door, and they said, come on in, Santa. He's upstairs. And I went upstairs, and I opened up his bedroom door. George, wow, what's the problem? You don't look so good. And George said, Santa, I just needed to see you. I don't feel so good, but, and he pulled up this special little box, and on the box was a seal. It was a family seal. Back then, every family had like a family seal. And in that box, he pulled out a special ornament with that feather in it. And I said, oh, you saved that feather. Oh, yes, I saved it. And I want to give it back to you so you can give it to another child. I said, oh, we got other feathers. You can keep it. No, please take it. Well, this gentleman, this little boy, he grew up to be a somewhat famous guy, and he was one of the children I visited. George was his first name. His last name was Washington. You might have heard of him. Now, he got on the naughty list one time by cutting down some cherry trees, but he did tell the truth. So that's one of the stories. And the feather that is laying there on the floor. And I also give him a little thank you card, business card. It's just nothing about business. It just says, thank you for the goodies you left. And I put that on the dish, showing them that just like your parents told you to say thank you, Santa should say thank you. And that's sitting on those dishes with all the crumbs of the cookie party that we had. So that's my little story, and I do deliver that.
Thank you so much, Santa, for sharing that with us. And we have another question. The question is, can you talk about future projects that you are thinking of?
Well, I'm thinking about working in Unreal Engine. I'm thinking about making a more dynamic nice list that will really be able to be personalized to each child instead of me going into the old-fashioned book. So I want to work on that. I'm working on Mrs. Claus to add her into my visits. And I'm also looking to maybe update one or two of my scenes. And I want to make sure I keep it fresh year after year. And plus, it's fun to do all year round to explore those different things and make it unique. And I might work on some other offering for the off season too.
Fantastic. And so we're down to the final question. Santa, your final thoughts.
Oh boy. Not everybody maybe wants to portray Santa or do something like I do. There's a lot of different young ladies and gentlemen who do virtual visits with Elsa or virtual visits with another person or just virtual education. Whatever you find your calling is, realize that you might be able to do it a little bit easier and longer in a virtual environment. It just makes life a little more enjoyable when you always either got a hobby or got something that you really love to do. It could be anything, working with the community, working with your your church, or whatever you're into. People would always enjoy that, helping out any way you can. I think it just makes for a better and stronger neighborhood and community. And, we're all neighbors. That's Mr. Rogers and me. We're all neighbors. And it also helps to keep the Christmas spirit up by everybody working hard on that. So I love the Christmas spirit to stay in the green all year round.
Wow, thank you so much. And I want you to share your website one more time, please, Santa.
Right now it's santakringlellc.com. It's all one word, Santa Kringle with a K, Kringle, LLC.com. So again, you can pop on there. It's ready to go right now, but I'm designing something to be a little bit different, a little more friendlier, and always trying to make improvements. And one of those things is the website. And I got a nice contact from the Office Hours Global to help me with that. So it's always good to keep improving everything. But right now, santakringlellc.com, and we'll make sure it points to the new one. The new one is just going to be Santa Kringle at me. Santa Kringle at me, but it's not up and running right now. But that's going to be the new site.
Thank you, Greg, so much for first of all, thank you so much for being Santa.
Oh,
thank you so
fun.
much for sharing yourself with us as Santa. And thank you so much for sharing with me tonight in this conversation. Thank you so much, Greg. Really appreciate it. And I want to encourage you to go to the current website and the new website, because guess what? He has not shared all of his magic with us tonight. So there's more. So you need to go to the website and check out all of what Santa has for us to know. And I want to, at this time, I just want to just go ahead and give my thanks to all of you who are watching. Thank you all so much. Again, I want to thank Kimberly Mobley. I want to thank Ron Mobley, the Global Family and Friends, Alex Lindsay, Office Hour members, Cloud Bedrock LLC, DVE Store, Liminal Entertainment Technologies, Byte Hive, Video 360, ApproveForLoan.com, Mr. Ken Jordan, Jonas Dattel, Aaron Huslich, Cherik Cheetah, David Brady, Marcus Lee Folk, Richard Lavery, Chris Fenwick, Manolo Lozano, Jeffrey Powers, Bo Cordell, Mickey McAchore, Doug Moeller, Bryant Shan, Laura Thompson, and Tlaluk Lopez Waterman. Conversation with Tony Mobley, producer. And thank you again, Santa, for doing the work. Next week.
Wow. Thank you, Tony. I want to also thank you for what you do.
Next week, we're going to have Mr. Bryant Shan, educator and video production professional, one of the few people who have worked on all of the Office Hours shows. So we're looking forward to having that conversation with Bryant next week. Thank you, everyone. Come back next week for more conversations with Tony Mobley. See you then. Take care.
Bye-bye from